Greetings, students of the Force, and welcome back to the channel. Recently, we received a transmission from one of our scavengers that was checking out the ruins of an old galactic library. This transmission went on to describe a most curious finding. As you well know, the Nightsisters of Dathomir are a reclusive coven of witches that uses the Force in a peculiar manner. Rather than the traditional Force powers we have grown accustomed to seeing either the Jedi or the Sith use, the power of the Nightsisters takes the form of a green smoke, and they are able to manipulate this into spells, potions, and even what they call magic. We took a deep dive into Mother Talzin's chapter in the Book of the Sith in a previous video. This chapter, labeled Wild Power, talks a great deal about the way of the Nightsisters and the way that they live, their history, as well as their beliefs. One of these beliefs being that their power is drawn from the spirits of Dathomir, and most notably, two gods who Mother Talzin refers to as the Winged Goddess and the Fanged God. Our researchers couldn't help but make the connection between the descriptions of these beings and the animal forms of the daughter and the son on Mortis, and the forms that they inhabit. And lo and behold, a page turn later, there are these pictures and full descriptions of the Winged Goddess, as well as the Fanged God, that directly correlate with the son and the daughter's bestial forms. This, of course, threw us into a grand search where we desperately sought to answer a critical question. Have the witches of Dathomir interacted with the ones of Mortis? Today, acolytes of the Force, we hope to answer that question. In order to find out more, let's first talk about what Mother Talzin wrote in her chapter in the Book of the Sith. According to Dathomirian legend, the Winged Goddess appears as a blinding white griffin. It is she who governs fertility and growth, as well as acting as a mediator to those parties wounded in battle. She knows everything that has occurred and everything that is yet to come. The chapter goes on to describe how Ichor is drawn from the spirits and given by the Winged Goddess. Then, the book goes on to describe the Fanged God. The Fanged God appears as a pitch black gargoyle. He governs virility and the hunt. He is the counterpart of the Winged Goddess, and equally important to the governance of the spirit realm. These two descriptions of these beasts line up with what we know of the ones of Mortis, hinting to a clear connection between the two parties. Curiously enough, there is no reference in the Dathomirian culture to anything pertaining to that of the father, the third of the three of Mortis. This could be perhaps that this is because the father doesn't appear in a bestial form at any time, and it isn't clear whether he has a bestial form or not in Star Wars canon, or even in Star Wars Legends. It could also be that perhaps the father never interacted with the Nightsisters like the son and the daughter apparently have. Speaking of which, it's important that we trace exactly when the Nightsisters may have been exposed to the ones of Mortis, and to do that, let's quickly cover their history as a whole. According to legend, the Nightsisters were founded by a woman who they refer to as Mother Aleia. Aleia herself was a fallen Jedi exiled to Dathomir, exiled some 600 years before the Battle of Yavin. However, the Jedi Council had no records of an exile named Aleia, and even the Nightsisters themselves had other contradicting tales about their origin. Even if this Aleia was not the founder of the Nightsisters though, Aleia also wrote the Book of Law that taught the sisters to dislike and even hate the Jedi. Over the ensuing centuries, the Witches of Dathomir, also known as the Daughters of Aleia, divided into different clans or sisterhoods. However, some of the sisters let themselves drown in the dark side of the Force, drinking too much. Just like Aleia herself before, she was ultimately redeemed. However, these other sisters would not be. As a consequence, the Witches of Dathomir instated a tradition of exiling Darksiders and others who broke their ancient code to live outside the clans in solitude and contemplation. Unfortunately though, some of these clans began to band together and became known as the Nightsisters. They studied the forbidden night spells. Over time, this group came to resemble the traditional clans and started to expand over the planet of Dathomir, raising its own children to obey the power of the dark side, although they did not regard it in those terms. The self-proclaimed Mother Gathzerion even provided her flock with the Book of Shadows, and soon the other clans ended the Nightsisters, as they became the dominant religion and had now formed their own unifying coven, bringing all of the clans together under this dark side magic. With the conflicting origins pertaining to Mother Aleia, we do not have a clear legend, nor can an explanation of how the Nightsisters may have come to know or worship the son or daughter. daughter. Although the evidence is inconclusive, the implications as of now are actually massive. When we are introduced to the Ones of Mortis in the Clone Wars, we regard them as these all-knowing Force deities that exist on the mystical fringes of the galaxy. We often assume that the Ones have confined themselves to Mortis, when in fact this evidence suggests that they have been around the entire Star Wars galaxy. The Nightsisters are only this first indication that the other cultures have been in contact with the Ones of Mortis, and even massively impacted by them, to the point where the Ones would be worshipped by the Nightsisters and Dathomir. Not even the Jedi have had such records of the Ones before, and the Nightsisters actually do. This of course can be attributed to the great loss of Jedi knowledge during the move from Tython to Ossus, the second great schism and the first great Jedi purge. These galactic events had a huge impact on the great library of the Jedi, and many records were unfortunately lost, though we do know that the Jedi were on Coruscant at the time that Mother Aleia alleged to have been exiled to Dathomir. So unless someone erased information about her out of the Jedi archives, then perhaps this Aleia person was a liar about being a Jedi in the first place. Or again, it's completely possible that she was erased. Aleia outright taught the Nightsisters to hate the Jedi, which is rather curious when considering the question of why she would have said to have been one. Our researchers here at the Stupendous Wave have come up with a possible theory on this though. If we recall the end of the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka's memories were wiped of all events that happened, as well as their nav computer being wiped as well, including the coordinates to Mortis. Perhaps some mysterious reason a similar process took place within Aleia. Perhaps she was indeed a Jedi who had been exiled from the Order, and somewhere along the way found Mortis, or had been visited by the son and daughter directly. Aleia's memory of them stayed, but for whatever reason, they may have wiped all trace of her from the Jedi Order's memories, and even their archives. This of course though in the end, is simply a theory, as there is scarcely any information regarding the nature of Aleia's exile, or what information she recorded in the Book of Law. But anyway, wielders of the Force, what do you think of this curious finding? The origins of the Nightsisters, as well as their potential interactions with the Ones of Mortis. Do you think that this regards some importance in concerning the Ones? The Ones of Mortis don't appear to simply anyone, so could this mysterious Aleia have some importance in the grand scale of the galaxy? Leave a thought in the comments down below, and as always my friends and acolytes of the Force, may the Force be with you and have a great day.